Knowing our subscribers have great taste, we are going to ask for your opinion, but more on that in a bit. We will also show you what we spent over $5,000 on, and we would like to know if you think it was worth it. First, let's get high. Real high. This adventure is not for everyone. If you love the idea of going somewhere that is open all year round, with every season giving you something different, from steep inclines and declines to rocky terrain and snow in the winter, somewhere you can test your skills and where you can sleep above the clouds with breathtaking views, this might be the place for you. On the other hand, if you fear ghosts, don't like picturesque views, and don't want to get yelled at by an angry farmer, this might be a place to avoid. Subscribers to this channel will notice a few changes to the Fortuna, and as always, we will go over them and the costs associated. We are setting off on an ordinary autumn weekend where the weather is crisp but ideal for camping and exploring, putting our luck to the test to see if we can get the cabin that sits on top of the mountain all to ourselves. Being in a rush to get out for the weekend, we forgot almost everything, including chairs, most of our food, wallets, cutlery, and a lot more. And we didn't fill up before we started our ascent of the mountain. With just under half a tank of fuel to work with, we persevered and hoped for the best. So where are we off to? There are a few different ways you can make the summit. We decided to start from Jamison in the Victorian High Country and cross the Great Dividing Range from west to east, hoping that by the time we got to the top of Mount Terrible, we would have it to ourselves. Doing it this way will take us approximately 1.5 hours on the way up, but closer to 2.5 to 3 hours on the way down. After leaving Jamison, you'll be driving on a sealed road until you come across an unassuming turnoff where the track begins. Blink and you'll miss it. This is where the adventure begins, and you need to make sure you have a few essentials, the most important being a capable four-wheel drive and fuel. If you come in from this direction and stick to the easier track, any four-wheel drive should do. However, we would recommend all-terrain tyres, and don't forget to air down first. The easier track is well marked, just follow the arrows. However, even on the easier tracks, you'll spend most of your time in low range. Mount Terrible is a small part of the Great Dividing Range, and you can spend weeks exploring the area. But why do they call this place Mount Terrible? After a bit of research and an extensive Google search, it made one thing clear, and that is, it's not entirely clear why they called it Mount Terrible. A famous story is of a ghostly figure that roams the tracks at night. Depending on who tells the story, it could be a lady in a white dress, or the other is an old man holding a lantern. Or it could be a reference to the steepness of the mountain and the possible tragedies that happened on it. But our favourite is the story of an unpleasant farmer that used to let his sheep graze on the slopes of the mountain. The farmer was known for his bad temper and mean disposition, and the locals began referring to the mountain as terrible in reference to the farmer's personality. So let's talk about the upgrades. Only the eagle-eyed viewers would notice the first one on our list, a 2-inch lift kit. Sometimes all you need is a couple of extra inches. This is the maximum we could go to keep it legal without extra modifications. We set it up for towing and having a lot of weight in the back, so when empty, it sits higher at the back, but once loaded, it sits perfectly. The lift kit eliminates the little bit of rubbing the front tires used to do against the guard on certain angles. This set us back $2,400. Next, we went for a tradie rack with a new backbone. We love a good rack, and this one made sense for us and our needs over other types of racks, and the backbone helps keep the overall height down. Although now we do sit at just under 2.1 meters, and we can no longer fit into the underground car park at work. The backbone and tradie rack set us back $1,600. It also made sense to add an awning to the roof rack. With all of our research, we found that a cotton poly blend was the most durable and the way to go. There are cheaper options available, however, we spent $400 on ours. To save money, we used someone's garage and did the install ourselves, and while we were busy pulling the car apart, it was the perfect opportunity to install a front and rear dash cam. We went off the review from Linus Tech Tips for the dash cam, and we hooked it up to the second battery for constant recording. This dash cam was just under $400. And finally, a few weeks ago when we were driving home from Brisbane, we found that the original radio head unit maps were out of date and didn't take us on the most direct route. Though we don't mind a longer route, there isn't always time. So while we were pulling the interior of the car apart, we changed the radio head unit to one that has Android Auto and Apple Play. These maps are constantly updated with your phone. The head unit and connections required set us back about $700. So do you think it was worth the $5,500 spent? Comment below and smash that like and subscribe button. It helps us a lot as we are not sponsored, and it's a good way of letting us know that we're providing value. Also, we would love your opinion on something. Being the adventurers we are, we took a mixture of easy and difficult tracks to keep it interesting. Easy, as we were trying to make the summit before nightfall. Difficult because who doesn't like a challenge? As we raced across the range at a breakneck speed of 20 kilometers per hour, the sun was setting and the temperature was dropping. Due to the steep inclines, it looked like we were using a lot more fuel than normal, as the fuel gauge was well below a quarter, and concern washed over us, wondering if we were going to make it. Not once to back down, we pushed on. A few sharp turns later, we saw it. At an elevation of 1,325 meters sits the hut on top of Mount Terrible. Now the big question is, were we alone? A little while ago, the hut burnt down. However, with the help of a few different organisations, it was rebuilt and is a cosy little place to visit and maybe even spend the night if you're lucky enough to be alone. A few other people came to the summit. They took a minute or 5 for a quick chat and took in the view before they headed down again. The place was ours for the night. We love hearing from our subscribers, and we would like to get your opinion on what you think will look and work better, the ram type snorkel or the vortex type snorkel. Leave a comment to let us know, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button to see what we went for. Night temperatures drop to a cold 2 degrees, and in winter it can snow here, so plenty of warm clothes is recommended. We had a fire going in the cabin where we settled down for the night, warming our soup, although we had no idea how we were going to eat without bowls or spoons. We didn't spot any animals in the wild this time. However, we managed to see some amazing creatures while passing Mansfield Zoo. If you managed to make it to the top of Mount Terrible, make sure you sign the visitor's logbook and let us know if you find our name in it. Thanks for watching.